So this tulip tree got hit by lightning and it looks like it's dying. Yeah.
Sense of scale.
And I want to get it milled. So I had to figure out a way to get these logs out of the woods, and that's why I'm building the little log arch trailer. I didn't even know what a tulip tree was until my brother-in-law showed them to me. They have a very unusual leaf. Once you see them, you can recognize it. So instead of coming to a point at the end, they have a notch at the end. They're called tulip poplars, but they're not poplars. They're a member of the magnolia family. And they're the biggest trees we have on our property, almost. So anyway, no chainsaw work till after deer season, but I'm gonna come lay this tree down, cut it into, I don't know, 10, 12 foot lengths, try to find somebody to mill it. I don't know what tulip wood looks like. Supposedly these trees grow in a large part of the country. They're always big and tall and straight. You don't see tulip wood for sale at Home Depot. You don't see tulip furniture. Maybe the wood is junk. I don't know, but I'm willing to spend a few coins to find out. So first thing I needed to acquire was wheels. Spindles, hubs, wheels, and tires. So I thought I'd just buy an axle, get it all together. And I had a little trouble finding suitable. I saw this one on Facebook Marketplace. It piqued my curiosity, but it was 60 miles away, so I passed on it until I didn't have any other luck and ended up getting it, making the drive, and now I have it. Sunday morning, early, pouring down rain. This is my birthday, and I'm here at the foundry. What's wrong with me? I don't know. I got a new project. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm gonna build a log trailer for the four-wheeler, and I picked up this axle yesterday, and it's gonna be perfect. I think it's gonna be perfect. Only problem is the tires are rust jacked. They're not against the bead. I think the rust has pushed them out. So my first project will be to try to get these wheels off. Get the tires. They're hard. They got air in them, I guess. I have to get those tires off and get the rims cleaned up, needled up, cleaned up, painted. Sad thing is I just threw away 2 of these rims because they're an odd size. They don't fit any of my trailers. They don't fit boat trailers. The hole in the middle is bigger, and so the spacing on the 5 nuts is bigger. And I said I don't have any use for those. I put them out front and they were going in 10 minutes. Sure could use them now. But anyway, I think I can save these wheels. Let's see if we can't get them off. The seller did not know the history of this axle. It was on property he bought. It's kind of strange. There's no sign of any welding on this contraption. Whatever it was designed to come off and on something. If anybody has a clue out there, I sure would like to know. This second wheel was rusted on the hub pretty well. Later on in the video, I had trouble getting it back on. I had to spend some time with a file on both the inside of the wheel rim and the hub just to be able to get the wheel back on. Okay, wheels are off. The hubs feel amazing. I tried to get the valve stem out of the valves to let air out the tires, and they won't come, so I'm just going to knock the stems off and let them blow, because they're hard as a rock anyway. They probably need. I'm wondering if these tires aren't filled with something. Yep, tires are filled with rubber, so they're filled with something. Mystery solved on my tires here. This wasn't rust jacked. This rim was rusted out, and they probably couldn't set the bead, so they just fill it up with rubber just like it is. That's why I couldn't get the cores out of the valve stems, is because they're solid rubber. So this is, I'm gonna be looking for new rims, I think. At least one. That one's in pretty good shape. I would hate to get in the middle of the woods with a 2,000-pound log and have the tire roll off of this rim. So yeah, we'll be shopping for a rim or two. In the meantime, I'm gonna paint these with Ospro. How do you say it? Ospro. And that will kind of neutralize the rust so it won't get any worse. in case I want to keep this one rim. So hanging from the strap, I'm about 12 inches off the ground, which is what it was with the wheel on it. And I'm about 22 to the bottom of this. I think I need more like 40. So I'm gonna whack this off right here. I'm gonna add on to this. And then width-wise, I don't have the exact measurement because I wanna measure the tree that I wanna haul, but it's gonna be more like 30. And now it's more like, I don't know, 60 or 50. So this is too long and this is too short. We're gonna cut this off, add on to this. Yeah, just a bunch of welding and grinding. And then I have all kind of round pipe, so shouldn't be a problem with materials. Well, that went pretty smooth so far. I'm not quite halfway, but I'm into it, and the pipe is not all that thick wall. So I'm gonna put a fresh blade on the grinder because it's getting kind of small, and then finish cutting from the top, flip it over and cut the bottom. It should be free to fall on the floor on my foot. Heavy wall pipe. It looks like schedule 80. So this was the axle from under my center console boat trailer, and we spun a bearing one day on the highway and we burned up the race here. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's jacked up. Probably could have used it because this is off-road and it's going to go so slow, and it was in the back of my mind I might use it, but I didn't. But now I'm going to use it for the structural part of the build, for the two vertical pipes and maybe the horizontal pipe across the top. So I'm gonna cut off all the stuff that's on here and start fitting. So I marked these cuts with a wraparound I made from a folded piece of paper, so I'm attempting to get them fairly square, and they did turn out fairly square, not perfect. I'm cutting the lap joint where the vertical pipe is going to attach to that rectangular solid steel that came with the axles. That should make a pretty strong joint. Pretty strong joint. I can weld it all the way down here. I'll plug the end, weld that, and weld the bottom. Yeah, that should be more than adequate. So I'm gonna cut the same joint on the other end. I'll show you how I marked it. So this is pretty simple. I have the pipe clamped on the other end so it can't move. I measured 8-inch. That's kind of arbitrary. It's just what I decided. Then I'm gonna put this right here. I'm grabbing the pipe to the thickness of this steel. And I'm gonna put it on the other side. The tricky part is just for this pipe not to move. That's it. And I marked on this side, but actually I need to cut it on the other side. All right. Attempt to cut a 45 degree on my pipe with this perpendicular to the table. This saw is kind of a piece of junk, but should be all right. And then we can clean it up. Well, yeah, let's get these two cut. This saw will cut steel if it's clamped vertically. It will not cut steel if it's horizontal, if it's a flat surface. So right now the saw is kind of stupid. It thinks I'm trying to cut a flat surface. And it just generates a lot of heat and a lot of noise and kind of melts its way through it. And I don't quite understand what I need to do to fix that. Okay, my top pipe is cut. I'm going to have about a 36-inch spread between the legs. I'm going to clean the joints. I've got these grinded, and I'm going to go ahead and put these three pieces together. weld them together. Okay, I got the big pieces welded together. I think I have a pretty good weld on them. It's not as pretty as a lot of guys, but I think it's good. And I cut a couple pieces of water pipe, and I'm going to put these here to give me a little more bracing. It doesn't fit very well. Yeah, we'll just stick them on there. Put a little weld on them. That should help a lot. Okay, little braces are welded on, and I got my axle assemblies clamped. So they're clamped flat to the table, and they're clamped to my riser pipe, both of them. This one's not clamped to the table, but it's tight. And I measured from the outside of this hub to the outside of this hub, and then I rolled it around 180 degrees, and it measures the same freaking thing. I can't believe that it came out so close. It's just clamped to my ugly cuts. But it would be better if I had the wheels on them, because it'd be sticking out further. I could get a better measurement. So I think I'm just going to tack these fairly substantially so that I can continue building, and at some point I'll get the wheels on it and I'll double check it, and if it's still good, then we'll weld the bejeebies out of it. So for right now, I'm putting maybe 4 good tacks on this thing. Put 2 tacks on it and turn it over and put 2 tacks on the other side. All right, well, my contraption's getting kind of heavy, so I used the hoist to lower it down. I shimmed up one side to get this level, and then I got these level, and I couldn't figure out how to clamp it, so I just welded a piece of scrap here and here, so it'll stay put while I put this one on and get it all straight, copacetic. It is a beautiful Sunday, clear and cool, our first cold front really, and I'm back. It's been a week since I've been here. The last thing I did was cut a 45 on this backbone piece, the right length, and got here a little while ago, and I cleaned up this. This is the drop from it. I'm gonna weld this together. This will be the down leg, and we're gonna weld this up, and then I'm gonna cope this end to fit the top of the deal and weld it into here, and then the basic structure will be done. So one of my readers clued me into this very recently, that if I could just cut a 45 and a 45 and keep them kind of plumb. The pipe is plumb now. I plumbed that piece I just welded on. That it will make a pretty damn good saddle for welding onto this pipe. So I'm going to try to do that. I have the pipe clamp rigid. It's not going to jump around. And I'm going to do this with Big Yellow, and we're going to see what we can do. Well, not perfect, but in my book, that's a pretty good start. I just need to remove some from the top and the bottom. Maybe even take a hammer and whack the top and the bottom, open them up a little bit. No, I don't think it's gonna take maybe 2 grinding tries to get a perfect fit. Maybe 1. All right, we're ready to weld. This is plumb. I checked with the spirit level and clamped it. This is level with spirit level. And my joint is a 90 degree to the other pipe. I checked it with the framing square, and the gaps are good enough for me to weld up, so we're gonna weld them up. Okay, I need to think about strength here. Theoretically, you back over a log, the log's heavy, let's say 2,000 pounds. You're picking it up with the cable will be right here. So when you're picking up this log, this pipe is gonna try to bend. I don't think it will. I think it's strong enough. You get the log up, and then you're gonna chain it here and here with a basket, and then there'll be no bending moment on this pipe downward. So you start pulling forward, there'll be a little bit of a bending moment. You know, the wheels are not going to want to roll, and you're pulling, so a little bit of a bend here. And I don't think that will be a problem unless you hit a stump, or you cut a corner and you hit a tree, or you hit a pothole, and then bad things could happen. The wheel that stops will probably want to rack this around, bend this around, put a lot of load on this weld, or it will want to rack the bottom backwards. And so we're going to have to put something there to strengthen that, or it's just going to want to come up here to tongue, stop the whole log from moving, and this tongue is going to want to pull out and break. So we're going to put a brace here to keep the tongue strong, and I'm going to put a little pipe here and here to keep this joint from twisting, and we're going to have to put some long pipes from the bottom up to the hitch to keep this thing from rolling backwards. So right now I'm going to cut a couple of little pipes. I'll probably use water pipe because I got so much of it. It's not the strongest stuff in the world, but it's plenty strong enough. And I can cut those 45s on my Harbor Freight piece of junk, but I cannot cut these on my Harbor Freight piece of junk because it does not cut straight. I end up grinding and grinding and grinding. So yeah, let's cut a matching pair for the back. I'll cut one for the front. It doesn't have to match. And then we can get out of here and turn it over. I can finish welding everything. Okay, time to flip this over so I can weld the bottom. So I can cut my little braces off. And it's gonna be kind of awkward. I might do it with the, I got a chain fall right here. Probably be the safest thing to hook it to the chain and flip it, put it back on the table, and I'll weld out the bottom of all these. And then I'll turn it end for end where this can get down there by the welding machine, and I'll put a brace on it. Well, if I could weld upside down, I wouldn't have to go through with that. But I'm gonna have to go through it once again and flip it back up. But let me finish all my welds and then we'll think about it. So my light bar up top is hinged and it swings out of the way so that I can roll this trolley out past where the light normally is. Pretty smart, huh? So this is the last time I think the structure will be on the table. From here on out, we're just going to put it on the slab and work on the concrete, and use the other hoist, use the electric hoist, which runs perpendicular to the one that I'm lowering down right now. All right, we should be rollable. I can roll it now. All right. Okay, next order of business is this hitch. And this hitch is going to go somewhere here with some kind of steel. I need a brace here. I didn't do that yet. But I don't want to do the hitch until I go look at my side-by-side to see how the ball is. I don't know how far to stick the hitch out where this won't hit or whatever. I need to go check it out. Now when I'm pulling with the tractor, it's no problem because the tractor has a ball on the rear bucket, on the grading bucket, and I can pick it up hydraulically and it won't interfere with anything. But the side-by-side and the four-wheeler, I need to go check them out before I go any further. So it's a new day. Actually, it's a new week. And I'm at the foundry and I'm second guessing myself. I'm not happy with what we got here. I think this is gonna be too tall because the wheels aren't on it yet. That's gonna add another 8 inches. It's gonna add another 8 inches here. It's gonna put 48 inches above the ground. No, it really doesn't matter. I don't have to pick the log up that high to make it worry about it being top heavy. I can chain the log anywhere. But yeah, I'm gonna cut it down 6 more inches. So luckily this is just barely tacked. I'm gonna bring this notch up 6 more inches and lower this 6 inches. And then I'm going to shorten this a foot. I got these measurements off a YouTube video, but apparently that guy hauls longer stuff than I have. But I don't think I'll be able to get down the trail with this thing as long as it is. And part of that problem is I'm gonna have to pull it with the tractor. My Ranger, the hitch is way up underneath the back. For the Ranger to work, I would have to have the hitch sticking way out, way like that. And that'd make it even longer. So I'm gonna whack a foot off of this bar and re-weld that. And I'm gonna whack 6 inches off each one of those. And then I can go forward. So this morning is kind of shot as far as forward progress goes. So before I cut the bottom part loose, I used a straight edge on the back side of this solid rectangular bar stock. I don't know what you call it. And I came up 6 inches on both sides and squared across the top. So now I'm not only cutting the bottom part loose, I'm also cutting my notch 6 inches higher in place with the grinder, and it really wasn't that bad. It cut pretty quickly. All right, now all we have to do is put it back together. All right, since this well was mine and therefore a little suspect, actually this one's suspect too, I added a stiffener plate there, and there will be another plate on the top that holds the winch. So pretty confident that joint will not fail. Now I want to weld the wheel deals back on. I need to do a little grinding first, get rid of some galvanizing, and then yeah. Moving along, we'll be back to where we started in no time at all. Well, this probably comes as no surprise to any of my regular viewers, but I've gotten crooked. You know, typically I try to get it straight and it doesn't come out straight. The tongue, the long part, is fairly right angled to the back part, to this pipe here. So it's not bad. It's going to be off about 3/8 or maybe a 1/2 inch from front to back. Really no big deal. Actually, this thing is for the woods. It really doesn't matter how off it is. It's going to pull when you hook a tractor to it. But I would like to get it sort of straight. So apparently I think this leg leaned forward during the welding process. So I've got this level here and I'm just lining of sight to the black pipe on the ground, and it's fairly parallel, and I got it clamped so it won't move. And if I take a speed square, this bracket is pretty close. It toes in a little bit. I think if I weld it on the back and loosen the clamp real quick, I think it will pull open, I think. This one toes in a lot. I mean a whole lot. I might even have to take it down and retrim this. I don't really want to. Well, actually, it's just a bump in the middle. I probably have to. Probably need to scribe it. And then again, if it's still towed in, I'll weld the back, loosen the clamp, and hopefully it'll pull out. And then who's to say if it's going to stay when I weld the rest of it? I don't know. But again, I'm going to put 4 tacks on them, 4 good tacks on them when I get them where I want them, and wait until I get tires, and then I can adjust a little bit more. Again, for an off-road deal, it doesn't matter, but I would like to get it as close as I can. So it's a new day, and what I said yesterday is confirmed. I'll go ahead and tack this one on this side. Hopefully it'll pull a little bit. It's almost good. This one's not too good. I'm gonna scribe it with a Sharpie. I'm gonna scribe this with a Sharpie, and I got a bump right there, and I think once I cut that bump off, it's gonna be much closer to being correct. Okay, took care of that issue. Both wheels are facing in the same direction according to the level. The level is pretty much facing 90 degrees to the backbone, so pretty good. Now I want to put a piece of metal over these open holes, because we have paper wasps and they'll be in there and they'll get it. So I'm gonna seal those up. It's still not welded, just in case when I put the wheels on something bad happens, but I got 4 tacks on each one. Okay, I added on to this part to make the difference between the hitch height and the tire height a little less. And if we pull this with the tractor, it doesn't matter. The tractor can lift the back bucket up way high and it can level out the load. But if we pull it with the four-wheeler, or if I change the hitch on my Ranger, I'm scared it was going to be so low that it would be hard to get the log off the ground in the front. So added onto it. I know that makes a weak link. We'll have to deal with that. And now the hitch fits 2x2 tubing. And I have this piece here. I don't know what I have it welded on this big old plate for. I'm gonna cut it loose from here, and the hitch fits right in here. Just need to drill some holes. Got this piece too, but it's too short. And then I got a huge long piece, but I think I want to use this one. So I drilled holes for the hitch on this 2x2 square tube. I don't really know how to line it up other than just to make it look good, which is where I have it. So it's going to get welded. It's going to get welded all the way around. Found a little piece of angle that will close in this end. That'll close in this end, and I'll weld it, and then I'll cut this leg off after I get some weld on it. It'll make it easier to hold. And then I'll weld the whole solid, keep the rust out. Well, it's a new day. Yesterday afternoon, I didn't get too far. It was one of those afternoons after working in the park all morning. I was kind of moving slow, but I did get these straightened out so that they both point in the same direction. And I did extend the tongue vertical deal, and I did get this ready to put the hitch on, and I did put this little brace on. I think I did that yesterday. No, that might have been the day before. So yeah, I really didn't do much. So today I'm gonna put a brace on this side. I'm gonna put a brace in this corner and flip it over and put some braces from the tongue back to here. So if it's rolling along and hits a stump, it won't try to bend this backwards. And then the framing's gonna be kind of done. After that, I'm gonna have to start working on the cable system to pick the logs up. So I made a little handle to make it easier to pick this thing up and put it on the hitch. And it's just a 1/2-inch water pipe. I plugged the ends with a threaded rod and welded it up. And I notched it for this flat bar, which I added to strengthen this joint. And I kind of coped it around the vertical pipe a little bit. And I got it just where I want it, so we're gonna weld it up. It's not gonna be pretty, but we're gonna weld it up. Next step, let's flip it over so I can weld out this and weld a gusset from here past this weld and weld the top of this hand pipe that I just put in, this handhold. I can't weld upside down. I can barely weld downhill. So yeah, flipping time. I don't know if I can do this by hand. Those axles and those flat plates are pretty heavy, but maybe we can just flip it by hand. Oh, not too bad, not too bad. I need to pick it up and carry it backward. Easy. All right, I found a donor, and it even has a little flange on the outside, which will make it stronger. So I just need to cut this and this, do a little cleanup, weld that on there, and yeah. Okay, last pair of braces. I need to tie this hitch to these axles. And that's so when you're pulling this big old heavy log, which I don't know, 2,000 pounds, maybe not that much, down the trail, and one of these wheels falls in a hole or hits a root, or, you know, more likely just a tree cutting corners. It doesn't, if it comes to a complete stop and everything else is still moving, it's gonna wanna bend this backwards or bend the hitch frontwards, one or the other. Something's gonna wanna give. So the strongest way to do that is to put a straight line from the hitch to that, but that's gonna really constrict picking up the logs. So I think I'm gonna get the hickey bar and try to bend a little bit of a curve out here and get this a little wider. I'm gonna lose some strength, but I think it's still gonna be pretty strong. And then on the other side, I'll try to match that curve, and then we'll weld them up. Almost through with the structure of this thing, and then we're going to transition into the mechanical part. All right, so I messed around with the hickey bar and actually a hole in the work table, and I got a bend that I'm happy with. Now the tricky part will be to reproduce this on another piece of pipe, but let's see what we can do. Okay, we have a matched pair. I need to turn it over and weld it. But again, I'm stuck on whether or not I want to weld out these two back hubs. Maybe what I'll do is put the wheels back on and not measure off the tires, because the tires are real jacked up, but just assume that the wheels are straight and make a couple of checks, and if they're kind of parallel, if they are parallel, we will weld it up. So this wheel went on nicely with just two studs. It's all the way seated. This wheel does not want to go on. You see that black lip? It should be all the way past the yellow hub. It doesn't want to go. I think I'm gonna take it back off and see if there's something bent or something. I'm pulling on the studs pretty hard. Let's take it back off. The problem was just a lot of rust on the hub and the rim, and I just did a little filing, and now it's on there right. So I marked both rims with a soapstone at a random spot, really doesn't matter. And between those two marks on the back is 14 or 13 and 15 sixteenths or something like that. So now let's put those marks to the front, or front, but 180 degrees over. And steady. I'm gonna stay. They're terribly out of balance, but that doesn't really matter. No, that won't stay. I don't think I'll be going fast enough in the woods to worry about balance. So, put it on the same mark. Bring it over here. And you take measurement. This one's not rigid enough for my shaky hands. And we have, oh, it's not that bad. 13 3/4, so it's like 3/16 off from one side to the other side. I'll check it again. If that's what it is, I'm gonna weld it up. That's good enough for riding around in the dirt at 5 miles an hour. Okay, so I put a different mark on the rim, on both rims, checked them front to back, rolled them around. Shouldn't make any difference because I'm measuring from the same spot. But anyway, 3/16 different. We're good to go. We're gonna weld everything up. I did not measure top and bottom, so I don't know whether we have, that would be camber. I don't care, I don't want to know, because that doesn't make any difference for this application. So, we can weld, baby. All right, our two braces are in place. They are clamped. The galvanizer is ground off of the weld spots. They are almost perfectly level. And the joint up front matches pretty good, so we are going to turn on the welding machine, open the mixed gas bottle, and weld. So the frame is done. It's all welded out, except for a couple of spots I saw. I need plenty of grinding, and it needs paint. Now I need to go to Harbor Freight, I guess, and buy like a boat winch and put here. Ooh, scared me. And I need to mount a shiv here so the cable can go over the top. I need to put some chain hooks so that once it's up, we can put a chain under it and not have it hang by the cable. Probably put like a V or a U under here to keep the log from swinging back and forth, spinning. And then chain hooks up here too, because I might put a chain under here. But yeah, it's been interesting. So, but it's lunchtime. See you later. So I bought a little winch from Harbor Freight. It rated at 1,000 pounds. That's probably not enough. And that's probably with one wrap of cable on the spool. And the more cable you put, the further you get from the center, the less capacity they have. But we're gonna work with this one. And I had always envisioned just welding a little flat piece of steel right here and bolting it down. But if I put a piece of flat steel, I'm not going to get to these bolt holes. They're so close together. And I don't want to weld the thing down because I want it removable. Might need it for another project one day. Anyway, let me scratch my head on this a little bit. Not sure what I'm going to do. So I think the solution to my problem is this channel right here, which is going to make it work. But of course it is under a lot of stuff. And it's pretty long. Let's unload. It's the only piece I have. I used to have a bunch of little short ones laying around, but I don't see them anymore. When I put this channel in that pipe rack a long time ago, I made a mistake. I put it this way, so it's been holding water and dirt, and it's pretty nasty. But this end's square, so I'm just gonna make one cut with the big grinder, and that's gonna solve my problems, I think. Before I start cutting that C channel, I want to change the wheel on my grinder. Black Lightning cutoff wheels. This one wheel has made every cut on this project so far. I've managed not to break it, and it's still good for my little grinder, so I'll take it off the big grinder and I'll use it on the little grinder. So I've been complaining about this thing. It has a button that locks the shaft right here. This thing just gets so tight all by itself. Holding this, and of course I don't have the right wrench. I don't know what happened to the right wrench. I think I got it. Oh yeah. Okay, that was easy. God forbid you get the thing jammed in a cut and the wheel gets real tight. So about impossible to get off. All right, let's go make some noise. So when I was still a superintendent, when I was working, I built some pretty big jobs. I was always getting the laborers to put scraps and drops and junk in my truck for me to bring home. They just thought I was absolutely mad to be bringing this stuff home, because in their eyes I was just a millionaire, and made no sense for me to deal with this old stuff. But this old stuff's kept me busy for 11 years now, and keeps me out of trouble, and there's not a whole lot of it left that's usable. But hopefully the day I die there'll be nothing left on this pipe rack. So our mounting block for the winch is finished. Just a piece of channel with some holes drilled. And I got a little bit of an arc here so I could get a little more weld. And I got it level with the 2-foot spirit level. And we're gonna weld it a lot, as much as we can. All right, now we're back in the back. And I'm gonna use this pulley. This is an idler off a mower that I should have returned because it was the wrong one and I never did. It's gonna sit something like this, so that the winch cable can go over the top and down to the log. And I'm gonna support it with this 2x2. It's pretty freaking heavy, but that's what I have. So I'm gonna cut it at a 45 so it can kind of stick out as a 45. And then I'm gonna rip it so the pulley can go in the inside. So this is big board grinder stuff. I'm gonna go back outside and do it. It's a little less, it's a little more pleasant working outside with the big grinder. So here's my pulley support. I like it. I'm gonna have to put some spacers on each side of the pulley and then tighten this up because it kind of flared out when I did all the cutting, but that's no problem. I just got a little tack on it right now, and I'll beat it around until it looked pretty straight. And I got an extra hole here for a keeper, and then I'll probably cut some of this off. I think I got too much sticking out, but yeah, I think it's pretty good. It looks thin metal because it's tapered right here, but it's substantial. It's not going anywhere. So I'm gonna weld it up off camera, of course. Probably the best welds I've made so far. Look at that. Anyway, it's on there. I've got the shiv sorted. I need one more washer on each side to keep it from touching, but I can do that later. I'm gonna cut this bolt because this is the one I'm gonna use. It's too long, and I think I'm gonna use some sort of snap deal for this in case I want to take it off in the field. I don't want to have it wrenched, but I'm gonna cut the bolt. I'm gonna cut this down a little bit. It's a little long. This thing has been hanging on my fence for a long time. I put it there. I don't really remember where it came from. It's pretty rusty. I'm gonna cut it in half and use this as the front support for the log to keep it from flopping around. Because if I don't have this, it will basically just be hung. Well, it'll have a loop, but yeah, I'm gonna cut an arch here. I'm gonna cut this arch out so I can weld it to the bottom of my deal. And then I'm gonna cut this off and this off, and maybe flare them out a little bit. And after that, it's only gonna be the chain hooks, the only thing left. All right, there it is. It's sitting fairly precariously, but if I can get a little weld on it without moving it, it's straight where it is. And we'll weld that up. So once again, I'm using this coal tar epoxy. It's pretty nasty stuff, but it's really durable. So you mix it 4-to-1, and it is very hard to measure. So basically I put a couple of gloves in the plastic graduated cup, and then I see where I am, and that tells me how much of the hardener I need to add. The hardener is easier to pour, it's not so thick, and typically I end up making like 5 times more than I really need, which is what I did again this time. But it's good stuff, super thick. It makes my welds look better. So I just mixed up like 5 times more than I need, but it's so hard to mix small amounts of this stuff. And I got too much hardener in it, but I think it'll be all right. Okay, I'm gonna paint the bottom parts I couldn't get. Get the chair and get the top. I'm gonna have half a gallon left over, but that's usually the case. So I gotta say, nothing makes my welds look better more than about 60 mils of black coal tar epoxy paint. So this may be the end of this video. I still don't have my wheels resolved, and I haven't been able to find any for sale with the big hole in the middle. So I may end up trying to weld this one, fixing it. We'll see. But for now, we have wet, stinky paint in here, so let's shut her down and get out of here.